In this episode, we give you a detailed 23-item checklist to make sure you're fully prepared before leaving for your next extended trip abroad.
Hi there, we're Joel and Michelle, and we're the Wandering Hartz. We're helping you live a more abundant life by traveling abroad.
Yep, so we've been traveling full-time for the last 4 years, so we thought it was time for us to put a comprehensive checklist together for you so that you're completely ready for your next trip abroad.
This guide is meant to be a pre-travel companion for you as you're beginning your process of planning your trip abroad.
This episode is part of our Nomadic Abundance podcast here on YouTube and soon everywhere else. You can check out the podcast playlist for more. So starting with our first tip is to actually make sure that you have a passport and then check the passport expiration date. Most countries require that your passport is valid for at least 90 days past the date of your departure. But a good rule of thumb that we try to follow is that our passport is valid for at least 6 months past your planned departure date of your destination.
Next up is you want to understand your immigration requirements. Now, of course, we're talking about visa requirements, first of all. If you're from a country that has a lot of visa-free travel, you still want to make sure you check that. Or if, of course, you're going to a country that isn't on that list, there might be some paperwork and things like that you have to do ahead of time. So give yourself plenty of time to do that before you're planning your trip. Also, travel authorizations. Now, these are something that a handful of countries have. And in fact, Europe is getting ready to implement its travel authorization, ETIAS, in 2025. And essentially, it's going to be an authorization in addition to your valid visa or visa-free travel. Now, another thing to understand is make sure you know how long you can actually stay in a country, know your exit date, and also be sure to count your travel days as well, because you don't want to end up overstaying, because that could lead to fines or even deportation.
Number 3 is check immunization requirements and recommendations. So there may be insects or even waterborne illnesses that you come across in the country that you're traveling in that is not in your home country. And so you want to make sure that you do this far in advance because many vaccinations actually require several doses. So you want to get those scheduled over a couple of months so that you have maximum protection before you get to that country. Because the last thing that you want to do is get sick from a preventable disease during your travels.
Another thing you want to do ahead of time is also register for any travel alerts. So a lot of countries will have some kind of a system in place that you can register with that will send you travel alerts, notifications for the countries that you're actually planning on going to in case there's some kind of a political issue or there's even like hurricanes and severe weather, stuff like that. For instance, if you're a US citizen, the program is called STEP, S-T-E-P, and you can actually sign up for that through the State Department's website.
Number 5 is travel medical insurance. So you never know where you're going to have an accident or if you need medical evacuation. Most insurance plans in the United States actually don't offer any coverage outside of the country. So we highly recommend signing up for travel medical insurance. There are several companies that you can look at. We use Safety Wing, but there are other companies that you can use like Genki or even World Nomads. The travel medical insurance that we've been using starts at less than $2 a day. You can sign up with our link on the screen. Just make sure you do your own research and find out what works best for you, for your age, and also for your needs.
Next up is financial preparedness. Now, we highly recommend making sure that you have at least one debit card as well as one credit card. And honestly, you should have a backup of each of those as well. Now, ideally, you want a travel credit card that has no foreign transaction fees. In fact, I'll leave a link in the description to the one that we use as well, that we've been using for the last 3 years. Now, also with debit cards, you kind of want to limit your usage on those. And the main reasons is you want to protect yourself against fraud or hold, since this is directly connected to your bank account. If you make purchases with it, sometimes they will hold a larger amount, and so you might have access to those funds. So first off, we recommend using a credit card for all purchases that you can. And then secondarily, if you're going to use your debit card, use it for your ATMs. That way you can at least get cash out. And that's pretty much all that we actually use our debit card for.
So speaking of credit and debit cards, number 7 is don't forget to double check the expiration date on your debit or credit card. We made this mistake not doing this last year, and one of our main debit cards actually expired while we were in Europe. So thankfully, we had a family member that was able to send us the new cards, and they arrived in Moscow, Bulgaria. But it actually took a month for us to get the card. So just make sure that you check the expiration. And if you find your card is going to expire during your trip, just make sure to ask for a new card to be issued to you a few weeks prior before your departure.
Understanding currency exchange rates. We highly recommend that you keep up with the current exchange rate in order to avoid being overcharged for things. One suggestion that we have is try to find a correlation between your currency and the local currency. For instance, this is an easy one. We're here in Albania right now filming this, and here the currency is the lek, and 100 lek is equal to about $1.05. So as you can see, that's a really easy way to kind of get an idea of how much you're spending on something. Now, for bigger items or when we're exchanging money, we always look up exchange rates ahead of time, whether that be online or through like an app, or like I even have a calculator that has that as an option as well. And that gives us a really rough idea, or actually pretty close idea, as to what we should be getting when we change the money over.
Next up is travel notices. Make sure that all of your banking and credit cards have been notified of your intended travel dates. You can do this either by calling your bank or even inputting your travel details online prior to you leaving. Some credit cards actually don't require any notification, like our USAA or even our Chase Sapphire credit card.
Download and install your necessary apps before your trip. Now we're talking about things like ride shares, public transportation, your credit card app, banking apps, like all sorts of stuff like that. Make sure you have any kind of, WhatsApp. Those are like different things that your communication apps. Those are all things that you want to have set up and installed on your phone ahead of time. And additionally, you can actually research this ahead of, like, for the countries that you're going to be going to, and you can figure out which rideshare apps, for instance, might be there. As an example, like in Bulgaria, like in Sofia, Bulgaria, actually, there's one called taxi.me that you can use instead of having to hail a taxi. Or even in other parts of Europe, you can honestly find Bolt as well, and that's another similar to Uber. We definitely recommend that you go ahead and set up your accounts with them, and also be sure to attach a payment card ahead of time so that when you do find yourself in the country, you're not having to like try to figure all this out at the last second, especially if you're in an airport or whatever and you're like rushed to try to get to your hotel.
Number 11 is download offline maps. Before you leave, consider downloading the map of the area that you're going to be traveling to. This will help you navigate without internet access, like on a hike or an excursion that's even more remote, so you won't have to worry about getting lost. If you're finding this content helpful, make sure you give us a like or subscribe. You can also head over to our website, wanderinghartz.com, or you can sign up for our weekly newsletter by using the QR code on the screen. We send that out every Friday, and it's going to be tips, tricks, and inspiration to help you plan your own adventures abroad.
Home preparation before your travel. You're going to want to make sure you arrange home care, whether that mean taking care of your pets, your plants, or even like yard maintenance and things like that. We definitely recommend maybe like getting a house sitter as one option, especially if you're going to be gone for a longer period of time, like 1 or 3 months. That way they can kind of check in things, make sure that nothing breaks, and you'll at least have someone there on the ground to take care of it. Another option, of course, is having a friend or a neighbor swing by once a week or whatever, especially if you're going to be on like a shorter trip, to make sure everything looks right.
Number 13 is mail management. Depending on how long you're going to be gone on your trip, consider asking the post office to hold your mail. Many countries, like the United States, will allow you to set this up online, and it's actually really quick and easy to do. If you're going to be away for an extended period of time, think about getting a virtual mailbox service, or even asking someone reliable like a neighbor or a friend to check on your mail and bring it in for you every week.
Now, speaking of mail and everything, another option is go paperless. If you haven't already, make sure and try to get all of the services and things like that that you've got signed up for e-delivery. That way you just get an email notification of whenever you've got a bill due or things like that. If you're planning on an extended stay, it might actually also be a good idea to pause services that you have or even cancel services that you might not be using a lot, especially if it makes financial sense.
Number 15 is take photos of your important documents. Keeping digital and physical copies is really crucial for your documents and also for identification. And just make sure that you upload those to any kind of cloud storage services. Another recommendation is to leave your physical passport in a safe in your accommodations and just carry a copy or a digital version just in case it gets lost.
You're also going to want to avoid data roaming charges on your phone while traveling abroad. If your phone plan does not allow for international roaming, you'll definitely want to make sure you turn that off before you take off. You can do that pretty easily in the settings of your phone. Also, some carriers may offer like short-term international packages or plans, or even monthly plans that usually cost a lot more money, but that have pretty good international coverage. Two examples of that are T-Mobile as well as AT&T. But often they don't have local phone calls allowed on them, so there's like no minutes for that. Those are going to charge you extra. Now, one option is to purchase local SIM cards when you arrive in a country. Those will often have local minutes as well as data. However, in order to be able to do that and swap your card out, you will actually need to make sure that your phone is unlocked first.
Number 17 is ensure your internet connectivity. If you don't have an expensive phone plan with international coverage, there is another option. You can download and activate an eSIM prior to your trip and then have data when you arrive. This way, when you arrive, you already have data and you don't have to worry about the whole Wi-Fi situation. You can get a ride share, you can contact your hotel or your landlord, and you can even look up exchange rates.
And also be sure to research the weather. Now, before you go, you want to have a good idea of what the weather is going to be like. Knowing ahead of time will give you enough time to maybe cancel or even alter plans if need be, especially if there's like some kind of a weather event. Additionally, it's also helpful so you don't end up overpacking or even packing the wrong type of clothing.
Number 19 is avoid overpacking. So this is something that we've really had to work on the last 4 years that we've been traveling full time. Be sure to pack essentials only and also leave space for purchases. Make sure you limit how many shoes that you're going to bring and coats or anything kind of bulky. This will save you space in your suitcase, especially if you want to bring something back for family or any kind of souvenirs. If you're going for extended periods of time, we found that you can actually get most of your toiletries in your destination that you're going to be at, especially things like soap, razors, makeup, toothpaste. This can save you a lot of space and also weight in your suitcase. Another hack is consider wearing your heavier or bulky items on the plane, which is actually what I do. I actually get really cold on planes, so I usually wear like 2 pairs of pants and then also a long sleeve shirt and a sweatshirt on top of that. So yeah, that might be something you consider if you get cold on planes.
Next up is electric power adapters. This, of course, can be very important, especially since it's a modern world. We all have lots of devices like laptops and phones and cameras and things like that that we have to charge. But before you travel, make sure you kind of look and see what the voltage requirements are for the countries that you're going to be traveling to. Additionally, a lot of these devices that I mentioned are already dual voltage, which is pretty cool. Which means they can basically be charged in or plugged in all of these places as long as you have the right adapters for them. So also you want to verify the plug type. Plug type might be different, than the 2-prong one that we have in the States, or in Europe, it's the 2 like little pointy things. I don't know. But you check those ahead of time so that you know kind of what to prepare for. You can purchase those ahead of time. In addition to purchasing an adapter, we also recommend that you purchase a small travel power strip. But make sure it's dual voltage as well. Otherwise, you'll end up with what I did the first time I went to Bulgaria, and I didn't check the power strip, and as soon as I plugged it in, it just fried instantly. Now, we actually use a small power strip in combination with the adapter, and that allows us to plug all of our devices in all at one time and get everything charged up. Because often we find that a lot of the places that we are traveling overseas don't have as many outlets as you might find back in your home country.
Number 21 is learning about the destination that you're going to. I know this kind of sounds silly, but it can get overlooked, especially if you're going to a place with nice beaches, or maybe that's more of a resort type destination. Take some time to learn a little bit about the history. You might be surprised that you find there's more to explore actually than maybe just the beach or the resort. Also try to learn about the local culture and customs so that you're not shocked when you go there. Maybe there's something, really different than what you're used to in your home country. And finally, be patient and flexible when you're in another country. As they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans.
Next is international driver's license. If you're planning on renting a vehicle while on your overseas trip, first check the country's requirements for driving. Many countries require you to have an international driver's license along with your actual driver's license issued from your home country. Now, this international driver's license isn't really a license. It's more of basically a translation into the local language that you basically is a companion with your actual license. Now, if you do plan on driving like a motorcycle or even in some cases like a scooter, you may actually be required to have an endorsement on your issued driver's license as well.
Lastly, number 23 is we would recommend that you learn a few basic phrases in the local language. This has actually helped us a lot just by knowing simple phrases like yes, no, thank you, or good day. We found that locals are more often likely to help you or find someone else who can help in your language. Showing a little bit of effort and just being a nice, patient human actually goes a long way. Before you head off on your trip, you can also download apps like Duolingo or Babbel to help you learn a few basic phrases. Another great app to use is Google Translate, and this is one that we use a lot. You can also download languages ahead of time just in case you don't have internet connectivity.
All right, guys, and one last thing before we let you go, and that, of course, is be sure to do your own research. A lot of this is from our own experiences, but you might have different experiences or different needs as well.
So for more inspiration from our journeys around the world and practical travel tips on how to integrate slow travel into your lifestyle, you can sign up for our newsletter or go to our website, wanderinghartz.com.
Also, we wanted to kind of share a little bit about a project that we've been working on. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know we've been teasing this probably for almost the last, 7 or 8 months or something like that. Essentially what that is it's called Nomadic Abundance, which is the same name as our podcast. If that's what you're listening to, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it's the same as the podcast playlist. And essentially we've been putting together guides and ebooks and other materials like that to help you figure out how to become a nomad, if that's what you're interested in, like slow traveling, anything from downsizing your house in order to travel more, whether it's full-time or whether it's just maybe for months at a time. If you're interested in that, be sure to head over to nomadicabundance.com where you can sign up to be notified when we're ready to launch.
Leave any questions or comments in the description below and we'll try to get those answered for you. Or if you think we've missed something, let us know.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Safe travels and happy wandering.
Happy wandering.